And for those of you who don't know, I am the co-head coach. The other part of the team is sitting right over there. And so this is truly not what I've been able to do, it's what we've done. Connie was a coach at Burlington Catholic for a couple of years. For 2 years she was coaching over there. And then we both coached Lakeland Little League, the little girls in Lakeland, the Bluebirds, while we were there. And then about 12, 13 years ago, I guess, the varsity coach at the time needed some coaches. And so we came to the rescue and said, yes, we'd help you coach. But my condition was, if I'm going to coach, I want to be at the very lowest level because I don't want a lot of stresses. I want to take it nice and easy. Well, that lasted until she got married and decided to have children. And then the athletic director at Central at the time, Chris Allison, came to Connie and said, would you be willing to take over the varsity program? And Connie had this idea, yeah, but only on one condition. And Chris said, what? She says, I want Tom to come with. And she said, Chris, I'm not going to talk in front of the public. He says, that's what Tom does good. So I need somebody to be the voice. And at first I wasn't too crazy about the idea, but we did it. And it wound up being where we are 7 years later. I think it's turned out to be okay. Central, since we've been there, we've been 7 seasons. I think that the uniqueness of having both her and I together, I think we complement each other. Where my strengths are not hers, and vice versa. And I think it does really help put together a unified program with the girls. Even though I think sometimes the girls don't know which one to go to and ask questions. But for the most part, they figure it out as well. In our time at Central, we are 142 wins and 25 losses. In the Southern League Conference, which we belong to, we are 77 wins and 7 losses. We've won the last 5 Southern League Conference titles. For the last 5 years, in fact, not last year, but the 4 years before that, we've gone to state 4 years in a row. Our record at state is 24-4. That includes 2 state championships and 1 runner-up. And the runner-up game was probably the most memorable game. In fact, it's been labeled the most memorable game in softball history in Wisconsin. It was a 15-inning affair that we lost in the top of the 15th. So it was quite an experience, though. Pretty tiring one, to say the least, as well. I'm pretty regimented in what I do. To give you an idea, I've got a speech up here, and I did see some of the other videos that Bill put out, and I know some of those people just went off the cuff, and I kind of do, but I like preparation, too. So I'm one of those kind of people. I told my mom I'm anal. And she kind of looks at it like, no, you're not. I said, no, Mom, anal's a good word. It really keeps me where I need to go, so don't worry about that. And I like routines. Give you an example. One of the routines I do every day, or most days, I won't say 100%, but I do it most days, is I get up in the morning and I go on my treadmill or my elliptical and I run. And I run for about 40 minutes, just as a way to get my day going. But while I'm running, every morning, I say the rosary every single morning, okay? And that's why I kind of laugh, because I have a sheet up in front of me at church, only because I don't want to stumble when I'm in church giving the rosary. But I know things backwards and forwards, so it's just that because I do it every day. But not only that, because the rosary, it takes about 15 to 18 minutes of time on the treadmill. I then have a series of songs that I play, one after another, and they are the same songs, and they're in the same order every single day. And every one of the songs is from a band that I've liked since I first heard of, a band called Rush. It's a rock and roll band. But the thing about it is that both of these 2 things that I do go a lot to say how I approach things. Because they talk about a lot about how I prepare for the day. Because this band I'm talking about, I don't listen to them because I like the beat, though I do like the beat, it's not that. But they have message in a lot of things that they say. And I try to incorporate these messages into what it means to life. And I'll show you in a minute. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to show you how I connect my faith everyday life through these things, including my coaching. So as I go through this, I'm going to give you a few of the songs, a few of the quotes of the songs, and then I'm going to talk to you about how I tied it into softball or things I do, but then also how I feel they tie into me, into God, into my life. Okay, so the first song I'm going to give you is a song called How It Is, and this is just part of the lyrics here. It says, here's a little trap that sometimes catches everyone, when today, as far as we can see, faith in bright tomorrows giving way to resignation. It's how it is, how it's going to be. It's such a cloudy day, seems like we'll never see the sun, or feel the day has possibilities. Frozen in the moment, the lack of imagination between how it is and how it ought to be. And where this ties into me, and what I think this means, is that we tend as people to be pessimistic. We tend to look for the shoe to always drop. And understand by doing that, we at times really miss all the positives that are out there, all the good things that are there. And I think that's really no different in the softball realm as well. We preach a lot of this, and Connie really is the one who really hammers on this one. But stop worrying about the last play, worry about the next play. Don't, if you make a mistake, don't compound it with another one. And to me, this is kind of a lot of the same thing, because when you're sitting there pouting about what just happened, you're in that pessimistic area. You're in that area you don't want to be in. And certainly the area we don't want them in. If we're going to ask them to play at a high level, they've got to believe that they can play at that level. And part of it is much more a mental approach. Here's the shock. Our players are very talented, very, very good ball players. There are a lot of teams that have very good ball players. I think our girls handle moments better. That's what I think we do different. Because I am optimistic in the way that we do these, I try to exhibit this. I try to exhibit the positive side and try to avoid the pessimistic side in everything that we do. And how does this tie into my foundation of faith, then? How does this tie into religion, what I've been brought up with? I kind of go back to a lot of what I do is scripture, and when I think of what I listen to in the readings on Sundays and that, or when I've read the Bible, and we talk about this idea that if you really look at your faith, no matter who you are or what your past is, God loves you, and He invites you always to everlasting life. And to me, when you start thinking about it from that point, what's more optimistic than that? This idea that you've got this eternal salvation, this person who, no matter what your faults are, is always there for you. I think too many times we as people sweat the small stuff, and we tend to lose the focus of the big picture, which is what I think that song is saying to me. So time and again, there are little traps for all of us fall into. And we need to remember that it's God's promise of eternal life that makes all the other things insignificant and allows us to keep the proper and positive perspective on the things in front of us. And at least, I'm not saying I always do it, but at least if it doesn't, I get back there pretty quickly. I get back to the positive side if I start to go negative. So this is the way I think that one ties in. The second one I have on here is a song called Far Cry. And the lyrics go like this. One day I feel I'm on top of the world, and the next day it's falling in on me. I can get back on. I can get back on. One day I feel I'm ahead of the wheel, and the next it's rolling over me. I can get back on. I can get back on. Now again, this sounds very similar to the last one in terms of that it's talking about perseverance or obstacles, but in this case I really like it because it talks about the perseverance. It talks about the side that I don't give in. We're going to have pitfalls. Things are going to go wrong. It happens in everyday life, and I do believe that softball does teach us about life. And it happens certainly in games. It happened in practice today. We talked about it in practice, if you remember, about that there were times that we had lapses, but we always brought it back to how we overcame those things. We had a time in practice today where we had a scrimmage, and they get 8 runs scored before we got an out. But again, at the same time, our coach was hitting it in a way where it was going to make it difficult. But the thing I wanted them to understand is they never let it get them down. They just moved forward. That's what we're after for them to do. I really believe you can't change. You can't make the changes or persevere if you're constantly putting pressure on yourself to succeed. So therefore, we always try to keep them in the moment. And by doing so, we believe that they're able to succeed. And I'll give you a really quick story of this. In our last state championship was 2015, and we were up 1-0. And the other team, we were playing Chippewa Falls. It was the first game of the tournament. And they had 2 outs and a runner on first and second. And they hit a pop-up behind shortstop, coming between shortstop and left fielder. Left fielder, senior girl, goes, I got it. Ball hits her glove, she drops the ball. Run comes around, scores, ties the game. We get out of the inning, she comes to the dugout, she's just in tears. I cost us the state championship, I did this, I did that. I go, hey, come here, talk to me. She says, no. She goes flying around outside the dugout they have under the stands. I go chase her right after her. I go, you're not doing this right now. We're not going there. You get your head back into this right now. You're a leader. People look up to you. You need to overcome this and get back into this game. She composed herself for a minute, got back out there. Later in the game went into extra innings. They were the home team. We were the visitors. They were up to bat. They had runners, I believe, on first and second bases loaded again. And the girl up to the plate hits a screaming ball down the left field line. It looks like it's going to fall in. And out of nowhere, she comes in, makes a diving catch, saves the game, and we went on to win in extra innings. That's the idea of perseverance. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what we want our girls to do. How does this tie into faith to me? There's several instances in the New Testament of Jesus spending time with sinners and showing his love and compassion for what I call lost souls. That tells me that no matter what mistakes I've made in the past, he still welcomes me back. So we shouldn't give up just because of our past trespasses. But we should always move forward in his love and try to improve ourselves. Again, I try to live this both in my spiritual life and how I approach everyday activities such as coaching a softball team. Third song is a song called One Little Victory. And one of the verses in here goes, celebrate the moment as it turns into one more. Another chance for victory, another chance to score. The measure of the moment is a difference of degrees, just one little victory, a spirit breaking free. What doesn't sound like softball except victory, and scoring and stuff like that. What it does is it makes me realize that you have to celebrate both big and little moments because those moments may never come again. For some girls, it may just be the memory that they keep for years to come. These are the ones that come back and you remember when this happened and that happened, and oh yeah. And it might have seemed like it was insignificant for me, but it wasn't for them. And therefore, we want to make sure we're celebrating those as well. I want to make sure that their experience with us is a positive one. I'm not saying that every girl that has played for us has had a positive experience, but for the most part, I think if you ask most of our girls, they would say, I'm glad we did it. I'm glad that we took the time and that we were part of that family, because we do talk about it being a family. There's two instances where I think about with the little victories, and one of them was after the 2014 state tournament. But early in the game, we imploded very early. We gave up 3 runs. Part of it was bad luck on our part. Part of it was just bad play. We just made some bad mistakes, bad softball. But the bottom line is we were down 3-0. And by the way, the girl we were losing to is now the #1 pitcher at Oregon, and Oregon is one of the best teams in the nation. That's who we were playing at the time. Somehow through that game, we didn't lose our head, though. We came back, we actually took the lead. And then they tied us, and then they took the lead, and then we tied them, and then eventually they won the game in the 15th inning on a home run. And I remember at the end, all the guys wanted to talk about was the home run that we gave up and the errors. He says, is that what you can take out of this game? Or no, the 27 runners were left on base. And I went, absolutely not, that's not what I'm going to take out of this game. What I'm going to take out of this game is the fact that we were down 3-0 against one of the best teams in the state, and we were able to come back. I said, that shows character. I said, I'm going to look at the victory here. I'm not going to look at the negative side of this, tying those other songs together as well. When we talk about this, we approach this. And for the most part, that's what we do. And that's what we've done with that. The other one I will talk about is, first year we were coaching, we had a girl who played for us. And, she was a track star for most of her career. Senior year, she decided to go out for softball. And I had heard that when she was in club, she played club ball, that she had pitched. So we only had one pitcher. I said, would you be willing to try? Oh, I really don't want to, but yeah, if you need me to, yeah. I said, I'll work with you on a curveball too if you want to. Fine. So she kind of did that. Well, about halfway through the season, she come up to me and she said, can I go and pitch? I said, I want to throw that curveball. And I go, sure, no problem. And to this day, whenever we see her, she still brings that thing up. And she brings up the point of, yeah, you remember when I didn't want to pitch for you, and I did this as encouragement. And again, insignificant thing, one little victory. It was a victory for her, and something that she still remembers to this day. We show God's the greatness of God, not by the big acts that we make, but by the little things. And these little things, over and over and over again, those are things that really add up. Those are things that, in the end, are the measurement of what you've accomplished. And to me, that's a message that I try to do. I don't try to make the big splash. I want to do the little things, and in the little things, get the fruit of what happens, and to bear it that way. And in some ways, all of a sudden, have people go, aha! And not only in terms of softball or in terms of what I teach, but also in terms of God. You know, I'm seeing it right now with my children. My children are starting to become, you know, how it happens at times when they go away from faith and then come back. We're starting to see it happen a little bit more again. The last one here is my favorite of the bunch of these. It comes from a song called The Garden. And there are so many parts of the song I wish I could take, but this is, to me, the most powerful. The treasure of a life is a measure of love and respect. The way you live, the gifts that you give. In the fullness of time, it's the only return that you expect. Really like this because I said, one of my statements that I've said for a long time, when you kind of look at the legacy of a person, is you can measure a person's success by the length of their funeral. If you really think about it that way. It's because the reason why funerals of that length are so long is because those types of people have touched so many people's lives. That they find it's that important that they be there and at least say some respect. I think that that's really important. I'm in a really unique position. I'm in the position of a teacher and a coach, and obviously in those positions I get to interact with a lot of people. It's my goal that I try to make those interactions as positive as I can with others. And while we need to keep discipline on our team, there are times that we do need to criticize. We always try to look for and to accentuate the positives of our players. If we don't do that, who else is going to do it for us? We also try to understand where they're coming from. God has made each of us as a unique person, and I feel that people need to be treated in a unique way. There's not a cookie-cutter way to deal with people. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. For that reason, I can go back over and over again. We still have ties with girls from our first teams that we've coached. We have a girl that is a checkout at I call it Drake still, who every time we're in there, how's the softball team doing? How's this going? How's that going? And this is somebody that we connected with 10, 12 years ago, who still asks us about this because, you know, of that idea of getting my garden going. In other words, nurturing it and bringing these relationships forward. And of course, the girls that played on state for us, we've had several of them that we have very, very close contacts. As a matter of fact, we just got an email from one yesterday, all excited about a new job offer that she's getting, coming in college. So those are the kind of things that excite her and I, Connie and I, when those sorts of things, those connections keep going on. How does this tie into my faith? I think of this song in a lot of ways in terms of religion, the same way as some church songs that we know. And they'll know we are Christians by our love. We all know that one. Or whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you're doing to me. And we all know that song as well. We've been taught through our faith to love all people. Even the greatest sinner can be saved. To me, that means that to treat every person with dignity, compassion, and understanding. I try to walk in other people's shoes best I can. I try not to be judgmental of others. I don't always succeed, but like I quoted before in an earlier song, I can get back on. And if I can't do that, I feel if I can do that, I feel that I will have a full garden to look back on. And in my book, that'll make me a successful person. In closing, I've been truly blessed by God, not only in the successes of my chosen career, but in so many ways. My family, my friends, the people who surround me, including you people in this community. Putting God at the center of my life has really changed me and allowed me to be a vessel of His will. Through me, I can show His love and glory to everyone I meet. I think there's an important distinction that I want to make here too, between me and the other presenters. As far as I know from the other presenters, unlike them from the previous weeks, I perform my job in the public sector. And remember, in the public sector, there has to be a separation of church and state. That doesn't mean I can't have or show my faith, but it means I need to demonstrate it in other ways. I think God gives each of us many talents, and it is up to us to use these gifts to glorify Him. I feel He has given me the gift of people skills and the ability to communicate information to others. My role is to spread His presence to others through that talent. So through my acts of Christianity and compassion for others, I'm hopefully showing that I'm a Christian by my love, which will inspire other people to show love and compassion as well. Thank you.